Good morning. Today I'm going to read the first chapter of Tristan Strong Destroys the World by Kwame Mbalia. This is the second book in the Tristan Strong series. If you haven't read Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky, you need to read that one first. It's amazing. And this is book 2, and it's brand new and is also amazing. So here is chapter 1 of Tristan Strong Destroys the World. Chapter 1, Tricksters and Whispers. Nobody likes getting punched in the face. Call it a hunch or an educated guess. Either way, I can confirm from first-hand experience that getting punched in the face is way down on the list of enjoyable activities. It's somewhere between eating a halfway scraped off piece of burnt toast and giving yourself a wedgie. Nope, don't like it. Especially when it's accompanied by my grandfather's trash talk. Pop! Come on, boy, keep your head moving. Unless you want to make your living lying down on the mat. You want me to build you a house down there? I can get you a one-room studio, utilities included. When I opened my eyes, Granddad was standing over me with his hands on his hips. Well, his mitts on his hips. He wore gray jogging sweats and a crisp white t-shirt that he had probably ironed. His afro, neatly trimmed and nearly all gray, moved from side to side as he grumbled and shook his head. He took off one mitt and held out a massive brown hand with scars in the knuckles. When I reached up with my right glove and he pulled me to my feet, I could feel the strength that had made him a legend in the boxing circuit. "You gotta move," Granddad said. He got into a boxer's crouch and started bobbing and weaving his head. "You're too stiff in there right now, like something's holding you back. What's wrong? You asked for this, remember? You tired?" We were inside the old barn on my grandparents' farm. The early afternoon sun peeked through gaps in the walls, sending warm yellow rays down in stripes across the packed dirt floor. Granddad and I had been working all day, clearing out junk, sweeping, stuff like that. A makeshift boxing ring now stood in the middle of the open space, and a few other adults were setting up benches. Why, I hear you asking? Did I volunteer for this? Well, a few days ago, Granddad had gotten a call from an old buddy he knew back on the amateur boxing circuit, now a trainer himself. A practice bout for one of his new prospects had been canceled because of a storm, and he wanted to know if Granddad knew of anyone they could spar with. "Why, yes," I imagined Granddad saying. "I have the perfect sparring partner." "No, don't worry, he's up for the challenge." That, my friends, isn't volunteering. That's called being voluntold. So I had a sparring match in an hour or so, and I was not looking forward to it. But Granddad had insisted I get in one good match before I left to go back home to Chicago. Yay. But don't get me wrong, I wasn't backing down. I wanted the challenge. Kept me distracted, helped suppress unwanted thoughts. Mr. Richardson, my counselor, called them intrusive thoughts. Busy hands, calm mind. And when you trained with Granddad, your hands stayed busy. No, sir, I'm not tired. I hopped up, slammed my gloves together, and started the routine again. Granddad held up his mitts, and I let my hands go to work. "All right, boy," my grandfather said. 1, 2. I took a deep breath and fired off the punch combination. Sharp, quick, had to be better, had to get stronger. Step forward, twist the hips, snap off a punch. Faster, faster, fast! "All right, boy, all right, don't get too worked up." Granddad backed away and dropped the mitts. I stopped in mid-jab, breathing hard. "I told you, we're warming up. What's gotten into you?" I started to answer, then closed my mouth. I didn't know how to explain my need to improve, the weight I felt on my shoulders. Granddad watched me closely. "Take a deep breath. You sure you ain't tired? I heard you up late last night, then early this morning. You getting enough sleep?" I bounced on my feet. "I'm okay, Granddad. I'm ready." "I'll tell you when you're ready. Just breathe. You look tired." I rolled my neck, trying to loosen up, looking everywhere around the barn instead of at Granddad. Pictures and posters decorated the walls, detailing fights from years past, and faded brown boxing gloves dangled from a beam running across the high 2-story ceiling. But the real eye-catcher was a giant mural depicting 2 men, a weary boxer with one fist up as he curled a bicep, and his corner man, towels slung over his shoulder, standing behind him with both arms flexed. It was Alvin Strong, my dad, the night he defended his championship for the first time, and his trainer, Walter Strong, my granddad. I once asked Granddad why he'd chosen to commemorate that night and not the time Dad had worn the belt in the first place. He'd scratched his beard, then made a fist and flex like Dad in the mural. Taking the belt was a feat, I'll grant you. Something hard, worthy of a mural, I suppose. But it's one thing to take down the belt when nobody see you coming. It's another to stare down an entire country while you got a target on your back and then beat them challengers into submission. It's hard to win a belt. It's even harder to keep it. As I shook my arms to loosen them and then slipped my mouthpiece back in, Granddad stood beneath that mural. He might have been older, skinnier, with more wrinkles and less hair, but still the same strength still radiated from him. I had that strength too. I'd used it before, and I was going to have to use it again, because, as much as it pained me, I had asked to strain. I needed to get stronger. I'm okay, Granddad. Honest, I said, pounding my gloves together again. I'm not tired at all. We'll see. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. Good. Hook coming in. 1, 2, 1, 2. Tuck that chin in, boy. Show those hands some respect. 1, 2. That's it. That's the Walter Strong special. Watch it now. Good. Pop, pop. I snapped lefts and rights at the mitts as Granddad called the cadence, and for a while I did good. When the hooks came in from either direction, I ducked them, and when the straights came in, I dodged them, weaving from side to side so they went sailing by. A rhythm had me bouncing on my feet and practicing the sweet science. It felt good. I got into a groove. Pop, pop! And then it happened. A sound drifted past my ear. Something tiny and faint. A breath of wind brushed my cheek. A chill grasped my chest, making it hard to breathe. Tristan! Someone whispered my name. And right after that, another sound reached my ears. My heart seized up. My fist dropped as I turned towards whatever or whoever it was. Tristan! I recovered too late. Whap! The hook came again and clipped the side of my head, sending me head over heels. It didn't hurt. It just knocked me upside down, but Granddad grew upset. He took off the mitts and tossed them out of the ring. Now what done got into you? What is so fascinating that you take a punch from your opponent just to get a peek at it? A piece of trash on the ground? You ain't even here. You have somewhere in your head. I didn't answer. Something fluttered across the floor, tumbling between the feet of the adults who were trying hard to not look at us. It was a receipt, crumpled up and harmless. I let out a shaky breath. Granddad waited and then sighed and motioned for me to come over. He unlaced the gloves and pulled them off, and then undid the wraps on my hands and wrists. He worked quickly, then gathered up everything and stared at the mural on the barn wall. Boy, he said, without looking at me, let's take 15. I need to get some water in me anyway. You look exhausted, and you're chewing on something in that head of yours and need to spit it out. Whatever it is, you can't bring that into the ring. Distractions will be the end of you before your opponent throws a single punch. He stepped out of the ring and stuffed the equipment into a giant faded green army duffel. He strained once, then stopped and took a deep breath. With a grunt, he lifted the bag over his shoulders and headed off. I'll be back with the body pads, he said over his shoulder. Then we're going to start over. I expect you to be ready to get serious. Granddad marched out, and the spectators followed him, leaving me alone in the barn, staring at the balled-up receipt. Tiny, like a wad of cotton. That had bad associations for me. But the piece of paper wasn't the actual distraction. I just couldn't tell Dad that. A whisper? He would have stared at me like I'd spread out an extra armpit on my forehead. And who could blame him? And how could I tell him that just for a second I thought I heard a faint drumbeat? A miffed, cultured voice jerked me out of my thoughts. You know, boy, the least you could do is remove me from your sweaty pocket before you start prancing around in your silly outfit and gloves. Hurry up and let me breathe. Or do you plan on moping forever? It came from my training shorts. I rolled my eyes and pulled out a shiny black phone with a gold spider emblem on the back, sleek and brand new. When I raised it, the screen blinked on and a splash screen appeared, a fancy box with the word story written inside it. The image faded away, and in its place appeared a tiny brown man stomping back and forth, hopping over glowing app icons and kicking aside the clock. He wore flip-flops, pants that were either too short or shorts that were too long, and a t-shirt with a grinning spider on it. Anansi's sense of style was somewhere between lazy dad and retro chic teen, and I could only shake my head. Why was Anansi the original trickster, the master of storytelling, the weaver of tales and webs of mischief inside my phone? Great question. Because a month ago, Tiny Loudmouth stole my dead best friend's journal. Because in my anger, I punched a hole into a different realm where black folktale heroes and African gods walk around like you and me. Because I accidentally brought a diabolical haint with me, stirring up even more ancient evil. Because I caught Anansi trying to use all the confusion to gain power for himself, instead of helping the people, and this was his punishment. Because I am an Anansi, a carrier and spreader of stories, and this phone is a story box, the vessel in which these stories are stored, and which it is my responsibility to watch over and refill. Because I got the hookup, that's why. Now stop asking me questions. Anyway, that was a month ago. It had been 30 days since Eddie, well, his spirit actually, since he's my dead best friend, told me goodbye for the last time. Since then, I'd read aloud every word in the journal he left me and recorded it with the Listen Child app on the SBP Storybox phone. Give me a break. Let me be lazy. The SBP's screen went blank, and then the lock screen appeared. Anansi glanced at the Storybox logo, then sat down and leaned his back against it. He pulled a black pixel out of the background and began to toss it around the edge of the screen like a ball. Look, he said gently. I know you and I haven't seen eye to eye. I snorted. And we might have gotten off on the wrong foot. You tried to get the people Isalongo to throw us in their dungeons, I said with a raised eyebrow. Anansi flapped his hands and waved the words away. Stop living in the past. We have to look forward to the future. I am due for reprieve from this prison soon, and that can't happen if you don't pay attention to incoming fists. Who will tell old Niame that I fulfilled my obligations if you're unconscious? Who will transcribe your grandmother's fantastic key lime pie recipe for me? No, you must focus. I shrugged and started rewrapping my hands. Granddad would be back any minute now, and I needed to be ready. If I could just get through this match, the rest of the week would fly by, and then I'd be on my way back to Chicago. I'll be fine. It appears to me you're not acting fine. I'm good. Relax. Anansi raised an eyebrow. And the nightmares? Whisper drifted past my ear again. A rhythm pulsed from somewhere out in the cornfield behind the barn, a fast drumbeat that sent my heart racing. I hadn't told anyone about the bad dreams that had sent me lurching up in bed every night since returning from Elkie. This is why you can't leave a trickster god on your nightstand while you sleep. I tugged on my gloves, then stood. I'll be fine. You can't punch your way out of everything, boy. Sooner or later, you'll find someone or something that punches harder. Trust me. Before I could respond to that startling piece of wisdom, the barn door creaked open. Granddad walked in. Sure enough, he wasn't alone. A crowd gathered behind him, and Nana, my grandmother, stood by his side, but my eyes were on the person standing next to him. By my 8 ashy legs, Anansi whispered. That boy is huge. Let's go, boy. Up and at him, Granddad said. It's time to spar. And that is chapter 1 of Tristan Strong Destroys the World.